But I'm hopeful that another way the Ukrainian resistance has stemmed the tide of anti-democracy is by cutting off the lies about the war, by saying powerful, obvious truth first. So the 2 steps back part is that my dad started posting on his website again, which he agreed not to do because that was the thing that was creating the biggest rift between us because of all the horrible ideology was spreading. And of course, with these new posts, he was talking about the war in Ukraine, and he was talking about Jews. Just as a quick tip for anybody with a QAnon type person in their life who's talking about Khazarians with a KH, though they might be mispronouncing it, in this context, that's code for Jews. They mean Jews. Or they might not know that it's supposed to mean Jews, but that's what it's supposed to mean from wherever they got it. I didn't bring this up with my dad on the call because everything else was going so well, and he only posted a couple things, and he doesn't know how often I check his site, which is pretty often, just to make sure he's not getting up to anything there. And it was quite disappointing because this is like the main thing for me. This is the problem that keeps me from being able to have a relationship with him, because he's spreading these things to, I'm not sure how many people now, but apparently there's a lot more traffic now than I thought there was. And as long as he's actively spreading hateful ideology to people who might be inspired by it to commit violence, that's just not something that I can be a part of. So I know that's going to have to be something that's addressed eventually, probably soon. But until then, I'm kind of trying to figure out, like, what is QAnon's deal with the war in Ukraine? For him, there's like a different set of goals here, because for him, one of the positions he's most consistently advocated for with his conspiracism is being anti-war. But it's not like a good anti-war for the sake of helping people. It's more like a way to maximally condemn the people he sees as his enemies, which is why the war in Ukraine turned into such a freakout for him. But QAnon is not anti-war. So I expected that QAnon would take a position behind Putin because he's kind of their hero for Christian nationalism and stuff like that. And I also expected that the wave of anxiety that would come with like a new war in Europe happening would end up driving a lot more people toward conspiracism. But what's interesting is that that doesn't seem to have happened. Like the QAnon forums and the Telegram channels and stuff like that are a lot less interested in the war in Ukraine than I thought they would be. Like, the war is competing for attention against all the other kinds of things that QAnon has been obsessed with for years. And on top of that, I haven't seen any posts on QAnon casualties that have been about relatives who got drawn into QAnon by the war, which is kind of fascinating to me. Like, I did not anticipate this kind of apathy about it, and I really want to understand it. So QAnon and all conspiracism has like this impossible ability to twist itself into pretzels to make sure that any point of fact that might be useful as a way of justifying their beliefs can be made to do so. But it just seems to lack a lot of that power here. Like, it's running into things that it can't appropriate into its circumstantially convenient, self-defeating justifications. Even though by all rights it should have a ton of opinions about what's going on. Like, this is the crusade of their hero. Like, where are they? And I think it might get at an issue that I've been thinking about but haven't yet talked about on any of these posts, which is kind of one of the main issues that I have with the way that journalism works nowadays, which is the notion that journalism is only ever purely about reporting objective facts and not really concerned with truth. At least truth as a kind of broader context and higher order metaphysical kind of thing, which I think has led a lot of people in positions of influence in social media and journalism and stuff to think that fact-checking does really anything useful when it comes to conspiracism, which fact-checking is absolutely essential. Like, we need it, but it's triage. If you're fact-checking a conspiratorial lie, then you've already lost. You're just doing damage control. So instead of only trying to report and check the facts, journalists need to say the truth first, which is really difficult to do. I totally get that, but I think the way that this war has gone is kind of a perfect example of how to do that. The first thing, I think, was the really clutch decision by the Biden administration to release its intelligence about Russia's plans before the invasion happened. In that case, they could specifically anticipate the lies and cut them off with the truth. And then when it comes to the Ukrainians themselves, they've been really good at dominating the information sphere around the war. Like, there's just a flood of very shareable videos and posts and memes and images and all kinds of stuff that really allows them to say the truth first. And really this gets at how they're able to resist this invasion so effectively overall. If Putin had succeeded the way he intended, then I think there are so many ways that we would be looking at a very, very different online conspiracy world right now. And I think it's due to saying the truth first that we're seeing this tepid, confused reaction to the war by QAnon. They're seeing that their avenues of pretzel twisting this into something that supports what they want to believe are being cut off, and they're not sure what to do about that. Unfortunately, that's not going to be something that can help my dad, because he's operating with a different set of goals here that empowers him to do that pretzel logic. But I'm hopeful that another way the Ukrainian resistance has stemmed the tide of anti-democracy is by cutting off the lies about the war, by saying powerful, obvious truth first. So I hope that that's what you're finding in your life with the kinds of people who might believe these kinds of things. And there's still a million ways that all of this could change, I know that, but having hope now is good.